What's more valuable, copying what already works, or creating something entirely new? Here's the thing most entrepreneurs get wrong. They think success means doing what everyone else is doing, just a little bit better. But that's not how breakthrough companies are built. Most people go from 1 to N, they take something that exists and make more of it. But going from 0 to 1? That's where true innovation happens. That's where fortunes are made and industries are transformed. Welcome to our deep dive into 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, one of the most contrarian and powerful books on entrepreneurship ever written. We're going to completely rewire how you think about building companies. So who is Peter Thiel? This isn't just another business guru spouting theory. Thiel co-founded PayPal and sold it to eBay for $1.5 billion. He was the first outside investor in Facebook, turning a $500,000 check into over $1 billion. He's founded multiple billion-dollar companies, and has been behind some of the most successful startups in Silicon Valley history. His co-author, Blake Masters, was a student in Thiel's legendary Stanford startup class. Blake took such detailed notes that they went viral online, eventually becoming this book. Think of this as the ultimate masterclass, from someone who's actually built the future. Here's the core idea that will challenge everything. You think you know about business. This book isn't about competition, it's about escaping competition entirely. It's about doing what no one else is doing, building what no one else has built, and creating monopolies so powerful that you redefine entire industries. Over the next half hour, I'm going to show you how to think like a founder, identify opportunities others can't see, and create unique value that can't be copied. We will explore why monopolies are actually good for society, how to find secrets hiding in plain sight, and why the best businesses solve problems most people don't even know exist. This isn't about incremental improvement, this is about revolutionary thinking. Let's dive in. Part 1, Going from 0 to 1. Let's start with the fundamental distinction that changes everything. Horizontal versus vertical progress. Horizontal progress is going from 1 to N. It's taking something that works and making more of it. Think globalization, taking American fast food, and putting a McDonald's in every country. You're copying and scaling what already exists. It's safer, more predictable, but ultimately limited. Vertical progress? That's going from 0 to 1. It's creating something entirely new. The first computer. The first search engine. The first social network. You're not copying, you're inventing. Here's what most entrepreneurs miss. Horizontal progress is easy to measure and understand. We can see it happening. But vertical progress, true innovation, is much harder to imagine because it doesn't exist yet. That's exactly why it's so valuable. Think about it this way. In 1970, if I asked you to predict the future, you might have imagined flying cars or colonies on Mars, basically, more advanced versions of what already existed. But would you have predicted the internet? Personal computers? Smartphones? These weren't just improvements, they were entirely new categories of human experience. Thiel argues that progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. It doesn't just happen because time passes. It happens because bold entrepreneurs have the courage to build what doesn't yet exist. The future isn't some predetermined path we're walking down, it's something we actively create. This is crucial for your entrepreneurial mindset. You're not just starting a business, you're literally building the future. Every successful startup begins with seeing something others can't see, believing something others don't believe, and having the courage to act on that vision. But here's the challenge, and this is where most startups fail. Going from 0 to 1 requires contrarian thinking. It requires you to be right about something important that most people think is wrong. If everyone agrees with your idea, it probably isn't revolutionary enough. So as we go through this summary, I want you to constantly ask yourself, what truth do I believe that others don't see? Because that's where your 0 to 1 opportunity is hiding. The companies that change the world don't compete in existing markets, they create entirely new ones. They don't fight for a slice of the pie, they bake a completely different pie that didn't exist before. That's the mindset shift we need to make. Now let's talk about why competition, the thing every business school teaches you to embrace, is actually the enemy of profits and innovation. Part 2, Monopoly is the goal. Here's where Thiel drops his most contrarian bomb. Monopoly is good. Competition is bad. I can practically hear your business school professors having heart attacks right now. Everything we have been taught about capitalism says competition is what makes markets efficient and drives innovation. But Thiel argues that's completely backwards. Think about it from a profit perspective. In perfect competition, no company makes any money. Everyone's fighting for scraps, cutting prices to the bone, and no one has resources left over to invest in innovation. It's a race to the bottom disguised as healthy market dynamics. But monopolies? They make all the money. And here's the key insight: they make money not by exploiting customers, but by creating so much value that no one else can compete. Take Google. They don't have 90% market share in search because they're evil or manipulative. They have it because they built something so much better than everyone else that there's no real alternative. They created a monopoly through superior technology and execution. Successful monopolies have 4 key characteristics, and this is your playbook for building an unbeatable business. First, proprietary technology. Your technology needs to be at least 10 times better than the closest substitute. Not 10% better, 10 times better. Google's PageRank algorithm wasn't slightly better than existing search engines, it was in a completely different league. Second, network effects. Your product becomes more valuable as more people use it. Facebook is valuable because your friends are on Facebook. The more users join, the more valuable the platform becomes for everyone. It's a virtuous cycle that creates natural barriers to entry. Third, economies of scale. Your business gets stronger as it gets bigger. Software companies have incredible economies of scale. Once you build the product, the marginal cost of serving additional customers approaches zero. Twitter can serve millions of tweets without proportionally increasing costs. Fourth, strong brand. This isn't just about logos and marketing, it's about being so distinctive that you become synonymous with your category. When people need to search for something, they don't say, "I'm going to use a search engine," they say, "I'm going to Google it." Now here's the entrepreneur's dilemma. How do you build a monopoly without looking like you're building a monopoly? Because the moment you say, "We're going to monopolize this market," you will face regulatory scrutiny and competitive attacks. The answer is brilliant in its simplicity. You define your market very narrowly at first. Amazon didn't start by saying we're going to monopolize all retail. They said, we're going to monopolize online book sales. Once they dominated that narrow market, they expanded into other categories. PayPal didn't say we're going to own all payments. They said, we're going to own payments for eBay power sellers. Nail that specific niche, then expand. This is the opposite of how most startups think. Most startups say, we're targeting a huge market to impress investors. But that's exactly wrong. You want to target a small market you can actually dominate, then grow from there. The goal isn't to fight in someone else's market, it's to create your own market where you write the rules. Competition is for losers. Monopoly is for winners. And the path to monopoly starts with finding secrets that others can't see. Part 3. The power of secrets. Every great business is built on a secret, a truth that's hidden in plain sight but that most people can't see or don't believe. Thiel poses one of the most important questions in entrepreneurship. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? This isn't just a philosophical exercise. Your answer to this question is your potential billion-dollar business idea. Because if you're right about something important that others think is wrong, you have found a secret. And secrets are the foundation of every breakthrough company. Think about the great companies of our time. Facebook was built on the secret that people wanted to share their real identities online, not hide behind anonymous profiles like every other social platform was doing. Everyone thought online anonymity was essential for safety. Mark Zuckerberg believed the opposite, that real identity would create more meaningful connections. Airbnb was built on the secret that people would stay in strangers' homes. The entire hospitality industry thought this was insane. Who would trust a random person enough to sleep in their house? But the founders saw that technology could create trust between strangers at scale. Tesla was built on the secret that electric cars could be cool, not just environmentally responsible golf carts. The entire auto industry had convinced itself that consumers would never accept electric vehicles because of range anxiety and performance issues. Elon Musk believed you could make electric cars that were actually better than gas cars. So how do you find secrets? Thiel suggests looking in 2 places: secrets of nature and secrets about people. Secrets of nature are things about the physical world we haven't discovered yet. This is where biotech and hard science companies often find opportunities. There are still fundamental discoveries to be made about how the human body works, how materials behave, how energy can be generated and stored, but secrets about people, these might be even more valuable. These are things about human behavior, psychology, and social dynamics that we think we understand but actually don't. Most successful internet companies are built on people's secrets. The sharing economy was built on the secret that people would share their private assets with strangers for money. Social media was built on the secret that people wanted to broadcast their lives to acquaintances, not just close friends. Here's the key insight: secrets don't stay secret forever. Eventually, everyone figures them out. That's why timing is so crucial. You want to be early enough that you can build a dominant position, but not so early that the market isn't ready for your solution. And here's what most entrepreneurs get wrong: they think they need to find a secret that no one else knows. But that's not true. You need to find a secret that few people believe, even if they're aware of it. The best secrets are hiding in plain sight, dismissed by experts as impossible or impractical. Your secret is your competitive advantage. It's why you will succeed where others have failed. It's the insight that drives everything else: your product, your strategy, your vision for the future. So what's your secret? What truth do you see that others are missing? Because that's where your 0 to 1 opportunity is waiting. Part 4. The Founder's Mindset. Let's talk about what separates founders from everyone else, because it's not what you think. Thiel identifies a crucial distinction between two ways of thinking about the future: definite versus indefinite thinking. Indefinite thinking says, the future is uncertain, so I will keep my options open and see what happens. This is how most people approach their careers and most companies approach strategy. They diversify, hedge their bets, and react to whatever the market throws at them. Definite thinking says, I have a specific vision for the future, and I'm going to make it happen. This is how founders think. They don't wait for the future to unfold, they actively create it. Thiel argues that American business has become too focused on indefinite thinking. We have become obsessed with flexibility and optionality instead of having clear, bold visions. But every great company started with a founder who had definite beliefs about how the world should be different. Steve Jobs didn't keep his options open. He had a definite vision: computers should be beautiful, intuitive, and accessible to everyone. He didn't conduct focus groups or wait for market research. He built the future he wanted to see. Elon Musk doesn't hedge his bets. He has definite beliefs: sustainable energy is inevitable, humans should be a multiplanetary species, transportation should be faster and more efficient. Everything he builds flows from these definite convictions. This is what Thiel calls definite optimism, the belief that you can understand and shape the future through deliberate action. It's the opposite of indefinite pessimism or indefinite optimism. But here's the founder paradox: the very qualities that make someone capable of building a breakthrough company also make them seem unreasonable to everyone else. Founders have to be contrarian. They see opportunities others miss. They have to be persistent. They keep going when rational people would quit. They have to be visionary. They believe in futures that don't yet exist. And they have to be persuasive. They convince others to bet their careers and money on an uncertain outcome. To the outside world, this often looks like delusion or arrogance. But that's not a bug, it's a feature. If your idea seems completely reasonable to everyone, it probably isn't revolutionary enough. Think about how crazy the first internet companies seemed. You want to sell books online? But people like to browse in bookstores. You want people to auction items to strangers on the internet? But how do you know you won't get scammed? The founders of these companies had to believe in their vision strongly enough to persist through years of skepticism, failed experiments, and near bankruptcy. That takes a special kind of conviction that most people simply don't have. But here's the crucial point: being contrarian isn't enough. You have to be contrarian and right. The graveyard of startups is full of founders who were contrarian and wrong. The key is developing the judgment to distinguish between insights and delusions. This is why founding teams matter so much. You need people who can challenge your thinking while still believing in the core vision. You need complementary skills: technical execution, business strategy, product vision, market understanding, and you need what Thiel calls the founder's mentality throughout your organization, the belief that you're not just building a business, you're creating something that will change the world. Because ultimately, That's what going from 0 to 1 requires: the audacity to believe you can build something that has never existed before, and the determination to make it real. Part 5. Building a strong team and culture. Here's something most startup advice gets completely wrong. They tell you to hire the best people. But Thiel argues you shouldn't hire the best people, you should hire the right people. What's the difference? The best people on paper might be incredibly talented, but they might not be aligned with your specific mission. The right people are the ones who genuinely believe in what you're building, and will stick with you through the inevitable challenges ahead. Thiel learned this lesson at PayPal, which became known as the PayPal Mafia, because so many of its early employees went on to found or lead other successful companies. But they weren't necessarily the most credentialed people, they were people who shared a common vision and complementary skills. Here's his key insight: you will never get the culture right if you don't get the first few hires right. Your early team doesn't just execute your vision, they help define it. They're not just employees. They're co-creators of your company's future. This means being incredibly selective about early hires. You're not just hiring for skills, you're hiring for alignment, values, and long-term commitment. Each early hire either strengthens your culture or dilutes it. There's no neutral ground, and culture isn't something you can bolt on later. It's not ping-pong tables and free snacks. Culture is the shared beliefs and behaviors that determine how your team makes decisions when you're not in the room. But here's where many founders make a critical mistake: they think building a great product is enough. They believe, if we build it, they will come. But Thiel argues that distribution, how you get your product to customers, is just as important as the product itself. In fact, he makes a bold claim: the best product doesn't always win, the best marketed one often does. This isn't about manipulative advertising or flashy campaigns. It's about understanding that no matter how great your product is, customers won't magically discover it. You need a distribution strategy that's as innovative as your product. And this is where many technical founders struggle. They're comfortable building amazing technology, but uncomfortable with sales and marketing. Thiel suggests thinking about distribution as part of your product, not something separate from it. The most successful companies build their distribution advantage right into their product design. Dropbox didn't just build better file storage, they built viral sharing directly into the product. Every time you shared a file, you were marketing Dropbox to new potential users. Facebook didn't just build a better social network, they built network effects that made it harder to leave, as more of your friends joined. Tesla didn't just build better electric cars, they built a network of charging stations that created lock-in effects and barriers to entry for competitors. Your distribution strategy should be as unique and defensible as your technology. If you're using the same sales channels as everyone else, you're probably not building a monopoly. And remember, every person you hire either strengthens your distribution capability or weakens it. Early employees should be evangelists for your vision, not just executors of tasks, because ultimately, building a company is about building a movement. And movements require believers, not just employees. Part 6. The mechanics of startups. Now let's get tactical. How do you actually build a monopoly from scratch? Thiel's strategy is counterintuitive but incredibly powerful. Start small and dominate, then expand. Most entrepreneurs think they need to go after huge markets immediately. They pitch investors by saying, "This is $1 billion market," and then explain how they will capture just 1% of it. But this is exactly backwards. Instead, you want to find a small market you can completely dominate, then gradually expand into adjacent markets. This is what every successful monopoly has done. Amazon started with books. Not all retail, not all products, just books. Why books? They were perfect for online retail, standardized products, huge selection that no physical store could match, and customers who already knew what they wanted. Amazon dominated online book sales, then expanded to other media, then general merchandise, then everything. Facebook started with college students, not all social networking, not all demographics, just college students. Why? College students had strong network effects, clear identity verification, and natural barriers. Facebook dominated college social networking, then expanded to other demographics. PayPal started with eBay power sellers. Not all payments, not all e-commerce, just the highest volume sellers on eBay, who were desperate for a better payment solution than checks and money orders. They dominated that niche, then expanded to broader e-commerce, then general payments. This approach works for several reasons. First, it's much easier to achieve monopoly-level market share in a small, defined market. Second, you can optimize your product for a specific use case instead of trying to be everything to everyone. Third, you create a base of passionate customers who become advocates for expansion, but timing is crucial. Enter too early, and there's no demand yet. Enter too late, and the market is already crowded. You want to hit what Thiel calls the green field, the moment when the market is ready for your solution but hasn't been served yet. How do you know when timing is right? Look for enabling technologies that make your solution possible for the first time. YouTube became possible when broadband internet reached critical mass. Uber became possible when smartphones with GPS and internet became ubiquitous. Airbnb became possible when social networks created enough trust between strangers. But here's where the venture capital mindset becomes crucial, even if you're not raising VC money. Thiel encourages thinking in terms of power laws, not normal distributions. In a normal distribution, most outcomes cluster around the average. But in venture capital, and in startups generally, returns follow a power law. A few investments generate enormous returns, while most generate little or nothing. This means you should be looking for companies that can grow 10x or 100x. Not just 2x. Incremental improvements create incremental businesses. Revolutionary improvements create revolutionary businesses. Ask yourself, could this become a billion-dollar company? Not because you're obsessed with money, but because billion-dollar outcomes usually require solving important problems at massive scale. If your addressable market isn't big enough to support that kind of growth, you might be thinking too small. This is also why focus is so important. Most startups fail not because they can't build their product, but because they try to do too many things at once. Every feature you add, every market you target, every customer segment you pursue divides your attention and resources. Better to be excellent at one thing than mediocre at many things. Find your wedge, drive it deep, then expand from a position of strength. Part 7. You are Nota lottery ticket. Here's one of Thiel's most important insights, and it's going to challenge how you think about success. You are not a lottery ticket. Our culture has become obsessed with the idea that success is mostly about luck. We celebrate stories of accidental discoveries and overnight successes. We talk about being in the right place at the right time. We treat entrepreneurship like buying lottery tickets. The more attempts you make, the better your odds. But Thiel argues this is completely wrong and incredibly dangerous. Success isn't about luck, it's about being deliberate, prepared, and intentional. Think about the most successful entrepreneurs of our time. Did Bill Gates get lucky, or did he spend thousands of hours programming before starting Microsoft? Did Jeff Bezos stumble into success, or did he carefully analyze dozens of business opportunities before choosing books for his online store? These founders didn't win the lottery. They made calculated bets, based on deep understanding of technology trends, customer needs, and market dynamics. They succeeded because they were prepared when opportunity arrived. This matters, because the lottery ticket mentality leads to terrible strategic decisions. If you think success is random, you diversify across many small bets instead of making one big, committed bet. You keep your options open instead of focusing intensely on your best opportunity. But the reality is that successful companies require years of sustained effort, continuous learning, and constant adaptation. They require the kind of deep commitment you can only make if you truly believe in what you're building. Thiel encourages what he calls definite optimism, the belief that you can understand and shape the future through intelligent action. This is different from indefinite optimism. Definite optimism means having a clear vision for how the world should be. Different and a concrete plan for making that vision real. It means believing in your ability to create change, not just react to it. But here's the crucial point. You can only shape the future if you're building towards something meaningful. This isn't about getting rich quick, or becoming famous. It's about solving important problems that make the world better. The most successful entrepreneurs are driven by mission, not just money. They're building companies that they genuinely believe need to exist in the world. The financial rewards are a byproduct of creating real value, not the primary goal. This is why Thiel emphasizes thinking long-term. Most startups are optimizing for short-term metrics: user growth, revenue milestones, funding rounds. But breakthrough companies are built by founders who think in decades, not quarters. Amazon lost money for years because Bezos was building infrastructure for long-term domination, not short-term profits. Google spent years perfecting their search algorithm before they figured out how to monetize it effectively. Facebook focused on user experience and network effects long before they optimized for revenue. The power of belief cannot be overstated. If you don't genuinely believe in your ability to build something important, why would anyone else? If you don't believe your company can change the world, why would talented people join you? If you don't believe your product solves a real problem, why would customers pay for it? But belief without capability is just delusion. You need to match your ambition with competence, your vision with execution, your dreams with discipline. That's the founder challenge: maintaining absolute conviction in your vision while remaining flexible about tactics, believing deeply in your destination while adapting constantly to changing conditions on the journey. You are not a lottery ticket. You are an agent of change. The future isn't something that happens to you, it's something you create through deliberate action and sustained effort. Conclusion: let's bring this all together. 0 to 1 isn't just a business book, it's a manifesto for how to think about creating the future. Here are the core ideas that can transform how you approach entrepreneurship. First, go from O to 1, not 1 to N. Don't copy what already exists, create what hasn't existed before. Horizontal progress is safe but limited. Vertical progress is risky but unlimited. Second, monopoly is the goal, not competition. Build something so unique and valuable that you don't have to compete. Focus on proprietary technology. Network effects, economies of scale, and strong branding. Third, every great business starts with a secret, a truth that others don't see or believe. Find your secret by asking, what important truth do very few people agree with you on? Fourth, think definite, not indefinite. Have a clear vision for the future and build toward it deliberately. Don't keep your options open, commit fully to your best opportunity. Fifth, start small and dominate, then expand. Find a niche you can completely own, then gradually expand into adjacent markets from a position of strength. The world needs more people willing to go from O to 1. More people willing to build monopolies that create real value. More people willing to find secrets and turn them into companies. Be one of those people. Think big, start small, and build something truly new. The future is waiting for you to create it. That's our deep dive into 0 to 1. Remember, you're not just starting a business. You're building the future. Make it count.